that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Welcome to Platinum Explosion, #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanics with your host Dylan Blight. Today joining me is Jono Peck.
It's your boy.
And Ashley Hobley.
Hey. You're safe this week, Dylan. There's no Kieran.
I am. There's no fucking Kieran here trying to kill me. It'll be a great episode. It'll probably be the best episode of this show ever.
You know we're not going to kill
10 out of 10. 5 out of 5 iTunes.
We're way too lazy to try and kill you.
Yeah. Too much work.
Kieran's fucking lazy. What are you talking about?
Actually, he's the most lazy, probably.
He's the most lazy person ever of the whole group, probably.
Nah. He puts in
who do you reckon's
the
lazier?
IT work.
He puts in a lot of work.
No.
It's just he takes his time getting to the work.
Put a fucking desk backwards the other day. He couldn't kill a fly. Can't put a desk together.
I said very early on in our trip to Shepparton that he was not capable. And it's been proven true.
All right, shout out to
He was very
Kieran,
capable of the extra life streaming.
He was very capable of Afterlife. It's just handyman stuff. Not capable.
Handyman stuff, yeah. Shout out to Kieran too. Your boy, tweet at your boy Ringo on Twitter. The reason he's not on the show today is because Capable Kieran, aka Kieran's dad, is coming around to Kieran's place to help him put together that desk, I believe.
I have to say, who
Throw
of
him under the
us?
bus.
Who of us is handy with that kind of thing, though?
I wouldn't say I'm handy.
I could do it.
However, I have not put a desk. Like, I pulled this desk apart, moved it from one house, and put it together here again. Fine.
Like the right way around?
Yeah, it's right. It's got all the screws.
I think.
It's held together, all this.
How do you even do it back to front? That doesn't make any sense. Like, the IKEA set is like set to be done only one way, isn't it? I'd imagine.
I think so. I assume so. The instructions are.
He didn't
fine.
realize
I
that
know
he
I've
could
been
turn.
to IKEA.
He probably didn't realize he could turn the desk around. Like just pick it up and flip it around.
I guess we'll never
Shout
know.
out to IKEA Explosion.
#1 furniture assembling podcast.
Yeah. Let's talk about some video games because that's what we're here to talk about.
What?
It is indeed a PlayStation podcast, except for the last episode, me and Karen talked about Nintendo handhelds for like the entire episode. So, whatever. It is what it is. It's a PlayStation podcast 98% of the time.
Deal with it.
And we've actually played some games this week. Last week, me and Kieran jumped on here, two-man show, both sounding very tired, very exhausted, and was like, I can't be bothered trying to kill you. And we've both had no time to play any of the big games that have released recently, apart from Mario, but we're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about
all the other
stuff.
Nintendo games.
Yeah, let's talk about all the other Nintendo games. However, this week we have people here who've played games. Jono, let's start with you. You've put in the work into Wolfenstein 2. Did you see my little pun there? Did anyone catch that?
It's great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I'll bow to that one. Thank you very much. You finished Wolfenstein 2, not the new Colossus. It's called what is it called?
Yeah,
It's called
the new
Wolfenstein 2, the
it's
new
not
Colossus.
the new order. It's not the new order. I get the name backwards every time.
Yeah.
So your mini review, and should I really care? Because I'm not that excited about it anymore. I kind of was when it was announced and after the trailers and stuff. I was like, I'm not in the rush to play that. Should I be in the rush to play this?
It depends how high you prioritize the other games that are out at the moment. I really enjoyed it. I think Jack's really enjoying it. Nick seems to have had a good time with it, so it's definitely worth checking out. But if you're more interested in an open world game, keep playing Assassin's Creed or get into Horizon, Frozen Wilds, or Mario, or whatever you want to get into. But you shouldn't skip it by any means. What else do you want to know?
What else do I want to... I want to know... All right, so you've got a challenge ahead for not only me and the listeners, because I want to ask you to explain the story without any spoilers. Because obviously, we know it's not a spoiler to say at this stage that BJ's alive, because it's like, the fucking game exists. He's on the front cover.
Sorry, that was my jacket.
Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Spoilers for the first game, that could be a spoiler because obviously we think BJ dies at the end of the first game. However, other weird things are like the psycho Nazi woman who I also thought died. I know she's in this game because she's on like the posters and stuff like that. Does the story make sense, or does it feel like they've just kind of retconned so many things like he's not dead, she's not dead, this person didn't happen just to force the sequel to happen?
It makes sense in its own logic. Like, this game has some crazy sci-fi, how did they think of that kind of logic? And it wouldn't fly anywhere else, but in the world of Wolfenstein, with Hitler, Mecha Hitler, or whatever they've got in their history books. Yeah, anything goes, really.
And does it set it up for a third one, or do they close it off?
Is that
Like the
spoilery?
first one?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Look, I
Like,
think there will almost definitely be another game. I'll put it that way. I think the way it ends, like, it's not. I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's.
So you think he dies again?
I think there's more work to be done. Like, there's always going to be Nazis in the world, isn't there? As evidenced by the news.
these days and age, it's pretty.
You know what would be great?
That
Son of Wolfenstein, and it's like BJ Blazkowicz's kid, and it's set like in the present day.
Go kill Donald Trump.
And it's even worse because there was like an extra 20 years of Nazis before they were,
Apparently the Nazis
Blazkowicz.
haven't died off if you read the news, so it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a packed year, especially with a year with a lot of first person shooters and stuff like that, you've had Battlefields, Call of Duty, Star Wars, all the you had a whole bunch of Fallout DLC if you want to count all that sort of stuff.
Not this year, but yeah.
Wasn't it? The Sun came out this year.
I don't think so.
Earlier the year.
I know, maybe
like
the
end
very,
of
very last piece of DLC, maybe.
The big Nuka-Cola one, which was like a 20-hour
The
single
world
player
one.
thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like it was last year, but anyway, not the point. Yes, it's been a big year. You want to know how it ranks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't play a lot of first-person shooters, which is something that makes this more of a unique experience. And I think the fact that it's so story-based and, it's a single-player narrative, and that's something that makes it stand out compared to your Call of Duties and your Battlefronts, from what we know.
Both have huge single-player narratives, but
that's not why people are buying them. And I don't think that... I mean, I haven't played COD, and Battlefront's not out yet, so it's hard to say if that's what they're going to hang their hat on, is the single-player story. That's all Wolfenstein has. So obviously they've put a lot into the cutscenes and the dialogue and the writing. That's something that I always admire about Wolfenstein games is the writing. I feel like it's really clever, and especially when you have moments where you're not fighting, where you're actually just kind of incognito overhearing conversations between Nazis or whatever it is. I find those moments really interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, because you were playing it during Extra Life for the first hour or so, and there was like a big section where you said, no, let's not watch this. We don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Yeah.
So clearly there's a lot of in-game story.
Yeah, I mean, it is a game that, like, without the story, it's just killing Nazis, which has been done to death. So they have had to...
Not enough death.
Yeah. Yeah, not quite to death, but yeah. It's
The
yeah,
first
I mean,
game was
go ahead.
very similar in that you play for the first couple hours and you think it's like, oh yeah, the gameplay's great, the gunplay's great, but I'm just shooting Nazis running down corridors, whatever. It was kind of meh until you get to the like home base area where you meet all the characters and you can walk around, talk to them and stuff like that. And there was just like this weird realization moment where I'm like, what the fuck? This game has like well-written characters and like people I like, and like emotional levels between the romance between him and I can't remember the character's name, whatever it is. Yeah,
Anya.
it's like the romance is this weird thing that I actually enjoyed, and it was like, what the hell's going on with this game?
Turned
Especially the way
BJ
it starts.
into an actual like
Character.
emotional character with
Yeah.
like I say, emotions. He's deep, and he's like telling people he loves them and all this kind of thing, which isn't really something you see from the action hero, like the classic John McClane, whatever stereotype.
Yeah, that was one of my problems with the prequel thing, though. I thought the writing was a lot poorer compared to the real game, but whatever it was called, Old Blood.
You sure
Maybe
that's what it was called?
Was it called Old Blood?
It was. It was.
Yeah, okay. That was right. Yeah, so that's like one of my worries coming into. Like, I know that I'm pretty sure you love that. Jack loves that. I'm pretty sure I'm on my own on this, but I felt like that was one of my problems with that DLC expansion, whatever you want to call it, was that I found the writing, especially BJ's writing in that thing, a lot poorer compared to the proper game, real game.
Yeah, I can't remember that specifically. I think that was the game that made me realize how great the writers were, just because there was a scene in like a bar where these two Nazis were talking about one of them got dumped or something, and they were drunk, and they were just like, you could listen to them talk for like 3 or 4 minutes if you didn't walk through. Like, you're meant to just walk through that area, but I stopped and listened to the whole thing. And that was one of the moments I realized that they had a real attention to detail that you wouldn't usually expect from that type of game.
That type of game. It is a weird thing with first-person shooters recently. Even looking at, from everything Kieran said on last week's episode about Call of Duty, and then like looking at Battlefield, I was like, did I say Battlefront or Battlefield? I said Battlefield.
Field.
Looking at Battlefield, they've like done all those real serious game this year as well. Storytelling, taking everything more mature. It's really weird when you look back, like even 5 years ago, where the majority of first-person shooters were just kind of, I mean, they were bro shooters or whatever you want to call it, I suppose. So it's a step in the right direction for the industry as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
Is it as hard as?
Is it hard?
Is it as hard as everybody's been making it out to be? Like the first?
It's a bit hard to tell how hard it really is because I'm not playing on like the normal difficulty. I was like one higher, which you come up against areas that do seem like people have complained about the escalation of difficulty, and I think that's definitely a thing where a lot of it's manageable, and then you get to a section it's meant to be harder. It's meant to be a challenge, but unless you perfect your particular strategy, you're not going to get through it really. So yeah, that was something that I struggled with, especially because, and that's another thing they do really well, is the music. It'll get to a scene where the music will kick in with some like heavy metal riff, and you feel like a total badass, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go kill a bunch of Nazis and get through this part of the game.
Sounds like Doom.
Yeah, it does that. It's that kind of element where it hypes you up, and then you die like 20 times, and it's like, I'm not feeling quite as energized anymore. Bit frustrated, but so I think like if I played it again, I would almost want to play it on easy just so I can experience like that feeling the way it's.
I had the same thing. I actually had that with Doom because I started playing Doom on hard or whatever, and then it would like and it would like kick in like and you'd like I'd run around, I'd like fly through the air, shoot like 2 aliens in the head, and then get shotgun in the face and die, and then respawn, and then like die in 4 seconds. I'm like, no, and just put it back down to normal. I'm like, I'm like getting amped and then down. It's just like, this is just frustrating. So yeah, sometimes I think those things work in their detriment. All right, so another big game that I've played, talk about. If anyone has any questions, feel free. Assassin's Creed Origins. They took a year off. They come back. The game is... it's Assassin's Creed, but it's not Assassin's Creed. I feel like the best way to describe it is Assassin's We Want to Be the Witcher Creed Origins. Because it is so... I mean, to me, it just seems so evident that they were inspired by the world of The Witcher and the gameplay and just a lot of it. It wants to feel and be The Witcher from everything you're walking around. There's moments where I'm just like, The Witcher, everything from the way it looks, the areas, the weather effects, the walking through towns, the combat changes.
Is that a good thing? Does it work?
I'm enjoying it a lot. The game is one of the negatives you could bring over from The Witcher is the game's too big. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a plus a negative. Like, I start the game, I zoom out at the map, I'm like, oh, maybe it's one of those maps that just looks really big, but then like it doesn't take you that long to travel across it. Like it just looks a lot bigger when you zoom out. No, it's a very, very big world that I've been trying to go around just to find all the synchronization eagle spots or whatever, just to open up the whole map before continuing on with the game. And I've just spent hours doing that. And I'll enter like huge desert landscapes where you can't see nothing around you for ages. And I'll set like a marker to wherever the closest next eagle synchronization point is, and then you can like make your horse
Camel
or whatever a camel, horse, whatever you're in. I don't know. Maybe there's more animals you unlock. I've got a horse at the moment. You can just like hold down X and then press triangle, and he'll just auto drive to. I say drive, auto gallop.
Yeah,
he'll
Magic
just auto
horse
gallop
enter.
his way to the marker. And the other day I was like, I clicked it and it was like 4,000 whatever meters away or whatever it says. And I was like, cool, it reminded me of Final Fantasy from
15,
last year because with the cars, because I did the exact same thing with the cars where I was like, cool, that's probably about 10 minutes real time. I'm going to go make some food, get a drink, and I did all this, went out to the kitchen, made food, got a drink, come back. It's like 500 meters still to go. Just sit there, have a couple bites, watching my horse come along. And I did that so much playing Final Fantasy as well, where you just like set the car to go somewhere and just be like, cool, I'll be back in like half an hour, I guess, as you just travel across the world. And it's annoying,
Sounds
but
fun.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can fast travel there if you've been there before, right?
Once you've been there, you can fast travel, yeah.
And I think the point of that is you're meant to stop along the way. You're probably not meant to go straight there.
Yeah, you're probably... I mean, there's heaps of things on the way. It's like question marks and all this sort of stuff. It's like, what's this? What's this? I'm like, I don't care. I just want to open up the map.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm probably playing the game wrong. But, I mean, there's no way to play a game wrong if you're allowed
That's
to
how
do
it's
something.
designed,
And I'm
yeah.
allowed to go around to all the points. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not playing it wrong. Other things they changed is the combat primarily. And it's more of an RPG now. So, you'll open up treasure chests and enemies will drop loot, and there's all these different swords and axes and maces and bow and arrows of different, like predator ones, hunter ones, they are fast ones, longbows, all sorts of stuff. And you spend more time than any other Assassin's Creed game in the menu systems in this one, simply sorting through your weapons, going, well, this one's -1 more damage, but it has a bleed effect. Or this one's -5 damage, but it has like the chance to knock them back or like give you more adrenaline. And so it's a lot more RPG-ish in that effect. The combat's definitely more inspired by Witcher in that you lock onto enemies, and then R1's like your light attack, and R2's like your strong attack to try and knock people back. If you put skill points when you level up into abilities, you can unlock how to parry, and you have to spend most of the time... Like, if an enemy's got a shield or something like that and they're coming out with a big mace, you have to like roll out of the way before you can attack them. Whereas all the other Assassin's Creed games were very auto combat, like it was easy combat,
like Arkham Knight kind of square triangle.
Yeah. You
duck.
just kind of got into a zone, and it was just like blah 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 blah. Whereas I've died a lot in this game already, simply because I think I keep trying to play it like old Assassin's Creed games, just like running in, like I'll be fine, blah blah blah, and then just getting my ass handed to me by a dude with a huge hammer just hitting me from behind. I get knocked to the ground, then someone else just pummels me, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
So I should probably lock onto enemies, not just charge in blindly, like just flying R1, just trying to hit everyone.
I played it.
It's really different.
I played it for a little bit at PAX, so probably about 10 or 15 minutes, and I found that combat really jarring. Is it something you get used to pretty quickly? Like, did you come around?
I wouldn't say pretty quickly, but
Yeah.
I don't think the combat's bad. I do think it is simply because in my mind is just like Assassin's Creed. This is how you play Assassin's Creed. You've played Assassin's Creed the same way for
10
I don't
years.
know, 10 years? Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Like, that's not even exaggerating, is it? And I just think my mind is just not... it's getting better now. I'm not trying to play it the same, but yeah, I think it'll take people a couple of hours, like it took me a couple of hours to get used to it. My big negative, is I'm not enjoying the story that much.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of skipped through the story completely because it was a demo and I didn't really want to get like a part of a story. So I've heard a lot of criticism that the intro to this game is completely, like it just drops you
Nonsense?
in there and it doesn't make any sense. Did you find that as well?
I found it, I got that as well. You get dropped into the game but my mind was automatically like, okay, so I'm not supposed to understand what's happening, which is fine. As long as like within the first hour they develop the way and explain stuff. I'm like, I'm fine with just being dropped into a story mid whatever and just try and figure it out. That's fine. However, hours later, I'm still like, who am I? What am I doing? You have like a prologue area. Once again, reminded me of The Witcher. You know how you start in White Orchard before you... And it's like it's a fairly big prologue area of the map before you travel out of it. This game's got the same sort of thing where it's this fairly big sized area, and you go around, there's a bunch of side missions and stuff to do there and all that sort of stuff. And then when you finally choose to continue the main mission, it like comes up, Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm like, fuck, I've been playing the game for like 5 hours already. What the hell's going on? And then you meet one of the other main characters, which is the main character's wife. You finally meet her at this point, and I'm like, cool. Okay, so she's a big part of the game. I've already been playing it for like 5 hours, and I'm only just meeting her. Sure, I could have met her half an hour in if I just went from main quest to main quest. But I'm like, this kind of helps with the story questions I was having because she's telling me all this information, but I've been playing it for so long. I don't know. It's really, it may come together, but at the moment,
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying the story that much, especially after Syndicate, which I really, really enjoyed, and those two main characters in that the London one.
Evie and Jacob. Was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That one I really, really enjoyed. And you can complain about the main story, like it was mediocre, typical assassin story, but those two characters were so good, like so enjoyable to watch go backwards and forwards and stuff like that. It just made it a lot more fun. And this
Assassin's
one
Creed kind of gets in its own way with all the lore and stuff. I think if you did a poll, I think like 90% of Assassin's Creed fans would be happy to deal away with all the Templar crap and all the, Abstergo. Like, just give us a game about some assassins and let's see what happens. But yeah. What's the world like? Because it's very detailed from what I've seen, and part of it that I was playing, I ran into like a hippopotamus lair and they chased me away, and it was like
scary.
It seemed like that there's kind of like random encounters like that. Is there a world that feels fully developed in that regard?
Yeah, the world, I think the number one reason to play this at this point for me, and the reason I'm enjoying it playing so much, is just traversing through the world and spending a butt ton of time in photo mode. I've spent so much time in photo mode, it is ridiculous at this point. I haven't spent this much time in photo mode since Horizon at the start of the year. And it's not just because it's a pretty game. It is a pretty game. It's not as pretty as Horizon. It's good looking. But it is simply because you do come across those moments where it's like, oh, there's this whole flock of pelicans or whatever just flying across here randomly. And it's like 50 of them. They just look really natural for that to be a real thing. Or there's this random camel walking down here. Or you're out in the sea and just seeing like 20 or so other boats just floating around, and you can go climb on top of them and have people yell at you for climbing aboard their boats if you want. The world feels real and lived in, and that's probably the most enjoyable part to play it. I mean, at this point, I'm honestly questioning, like, will I ever finish it, or will I just fuck around until the point I've unlocked all of the map, been everywhere, seen all the pretty things, looked at all the cool pyramids off in the distance and stuff like that, and then be like, cool, my Egypt simulator game is done. I'll put this away now. I can't be bothered playing for you anymore.
You can put it on historical mode. And
the game has such a great scope of distance too. Like, I climbed to this huge tower the other day, and you can just see everything off in the distance. It's like, oh, there's this little town I was at like a couple hours ago. There's the pyramids that probably take you an hour to travel across the map if you're running across to get to. Here's the other pyramids. Here's like the big jungle area you can see from the back there. And it's just like moments like that where I'm like, fuck, I love current gen games, because if this was like PS3 game, it would have been like, I can see and fog of war everywhere, because it's like it's just great. And I'd say pick it up if you want to muck around in a pretty looking Egypt thing. I think if you're into history as well, it's a go as well, because it's like very all the places are realistic, and they're like, they've obviously done the photo research, and they're all created, stuff like that. But if you're like, I haven't liked Assassin's Creed for like 5 years or something like that, is this the one for me? Maybe. I'm not to say if it is or isn't, but I'm personally not enjoying the story as much as some of the previous entries like Syndicate or Black Flag.
Yeah.
Okay, as someone who
my two favorites.
As someone who hasn't played any Assassin's Creed, is this one
gosh,
you'd recommend?
Jesus.
Play Black Flag, Ash.
Black Flag first.
Black Flag is probably the best one.
Yeah, I've got it.
Do you like pirates?
Who doesn't?
Yeah,
like
pirates. The ship combat in that game was the best thing ever.
So much fun.
I love
Also,
it. And
have you
locking
come
all the
across that
shanties.
giant snake yet?
No, I haven't come across any supernatural things. I'm assuming they happen later in the game, like giant snakes. I've just
And they're
fought
probably
hippos.
like
Probably.
they're probably, what's the word? Hallucinations, yeah.
Yeah, hallucinations.
Who knows?
Probably right.
What's the protagonist like? Because that's often
Boring.
a make or break factor in these games, is how much do you care about the protagonist.
He's your typical protagonist.
Very vanilla.
I mean, here's like, skip forward like a minute if you don't want the basic premise for the game. You find out within the first half hour, I guess.
Jack.
His son was killed, and that's like your big revenge mission. So it's like, my son was killed, and then you and your wife are trying to get revenge against all the people that were the cause, I won't say why, but were the cause of your son's death. And I haven't seen the remnants of the Assassin's Order starting, but you kind of get it. You're like, here I am, I'm just going on a revenge mission, but you can see it eventually turning into the Order against
Templars,
like I can't wait for them to be like, these guys you've all been trying to kill, they're Templars. Did you guess that was coming? And I would be like, whoa, who'd have fucking thought it? They're Templars. Fuck me. Fucking just so Ubisoft.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. All right. So the last game I want to talk about is give us your Horizon Frozen Wild mini review. You've put a couple hours into it. It's the only DLC expansion I think they're making for Horizon. I think. My big question, very similar to Wolfenstein, is try and explain the story to me, how it takes place and how it works without spoiling, because I don't understand.
Basically, it starts up like a Fallout DLC where there's just an extra person, an extra quest giver on the map. And you can go to one of 3 of them and talk to them, and they'll tell you about this place, and then you go to that place.
So it takes place, like it takes place before the end of the game.
Yeah, so if you finish Horizon, from what I remember, it parks you back before the final mission, like the point of no return. So it takes place with that time frame and that knowledge that Aloy has before you do the last mission. And like... what's the name? Silence will even say, like, what are you doing? You've got a job to do. Why are you going over there?
Oh, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
I was going to be like, because surely she travels off, like, way... You're, like, way outside of wherever the game takes place. Is that still a spoiler to say, like...
No, it's attached to the same map. It's not like you go through a loading screen to get there.
There's like a tunnel, new tunnel.
Well, it's a mountain because it's, it's the frozen wilds. It's the north. It's the snow. That's not a spoiler to say.
Whoa!
Something called the Frozen Wilds.
It's the Frozen Wilds.
But man, it looks so good. Like this, it shouldn't be any surprise. You mentioned before how great this game looks, and it was kind of like a great reminder of how awesome this game is to just even play the first couple of hours of DLC. How awesome Aloy is as a character. I feel like, that Eminem song, Forget About Dre? I think everyone forgot about Horizon this year because there's been so many games. And people are sleeping on this. Like, I've heard Dylan, I've heard you say it's not going to be in your Game of the Year discussion. I've heard Nick say it's not that good. And I'm sitting here to say, this game is the bomb.
Look, it's not in my top 3. It's, like, not out of the circle. It's not in my top 3.
As long as you pay it with some respect.
I'll give it.
It's so good.
High
Like
five.
It's so good in every area. Like the gameplay's great. The story's probably its biggest letdown, even though it is really interesting. The tribal stuff doesn't do much for me. It's more about like the history of what happened that kind of captured my attention. Yeah. But so basically, without giving anything away, there's a bunch of new monsters in this area. There's some weird stuff happening with the monsters. They call them daemonic, like Damon Hatfield. And
shout out.
Yeah, shout out to GameScoop. And
Knocking
there's
boots.
there's some different ones. There's like bears and wolves. They're the ones I've come across so far. And I think I've heard on another podcast that there's a monster that's bigger than any of the other ones you've come across before, which is kind of curious. I'm pretty keen to check that out. But it's been kind of daunting because I mentioned in the chat before, like, I forgot how to play this game. The control scheme is...
Yeah, it's like 8 months.
Yeah,
since it came out.
It's been 9 months, I think, basically. So had to learn what weapons do what, and what attacks are effective against the different kinds of monsters. And the monsters are all stronger than the normal ones as well, even though there's some of the same kind of monsters. This variation, the daemonic ones, they've got a bit of extra strengths and less weaknesses.
The batteries are more charged up.
Yeah, they've got those Duracells.
Yeah.
And they've added a couple other things to make it a bit more interesting. This new kind of currency, so you can't just use all the shards that you've saved up through the whole game. You have to kind of collect a new form of currency. There's a new skill tree that adds a few more abilities in relation to like the mounts that you have. And there's a few trophies related to those. So I feel like between the story and all the kind of tasks that you get given through what I've observed in the trophy list, I feel like you could play this for a couple of weeks, and
Really?
yeah, it's like if you want 100% this, I think that you could play it for a couple of weeks because I've only played it for maybe 2 hours, haven't got any trophies, haven't explored the whole map. The extra part of the map, I figured out it's about a fifth of the size of the whole Horizon map, and that map was big. Like that's a pretty
So probably
big
like
game.
the starting area.
Yeah,
About that
it's
size?
yeah. So you've got like the eastern side of the map in Horizon before you kind of cut through the mountains. It's probably half of that size.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's a fair.
Yeah.
That's pretty chunky.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I haven't explored it. I don't know whether half of that is mountains and you can't go in there. But yeah, at least it looks fairly populated, and there's probably going to be some caverns and things to explore. So I would recommend it.
Does it seem like it's mostly tribal stuff, or is there some past information in there as well? Story?
I think the extra juicy bit is that it's giving you a bit more information on Silence, and it's kind of his people, and he kind of, like, Aloy thinks that's why he doesn't want you to go there, because he doesn't want you to find out about his past and, you know, his backstory.
That is intriguing.
Yeah, that's the intrigue. So
Okay, well, so without any without spoiling it, if you haven't played Horizon, he becomes an interesting character by the end of the game. Like you find out some stuff about him. Do you think that this would need to be played after the? Can you play it before the game, like before you finish the game?
yes,
I think
you need to be at least level 30,
Yeah, that's what I read.
which is
You
probably
could be level 30 without finishing the game.
That's
I was like
right.
level cap way before finishing the game.
Yeah, I think I'm on level 50, and the cap now is 60. So, and that's, you know, after getting the platinum, it probably threw me up to 50. I don't know what I was when I did the final mission, but yeah, even at level 50, I've died a bunch of times. So it's certainly not a walk through in the park. You probably want to level up a fair bit before you go there. But I mean, it makes sense to finish the game before doing the DLC. I would suggest that with any, like, it actually reminds me a lot of the Blood and Wine expansion for The Witcher. I don't know if you played that, but it's similar in that it's an extra area, and it looks completely different. And those two games are already pretty similar to start with, but yeah.
Yep. It's only like how much is that? $20?
It's
$30?
$29. It's $29.95, but I think I got it on sale for $25. So, yeah, check it out. It'll definitely, like, if you enjoyed Horizon and you feel like you've kind of forgotten how good it is, this is a great reminder without having to retread and play New Game Plus. This will give you a good taste of some extra content, I reckon.
Yep.
Which is, I think that's what DLC should do for such a big game like this.
Yeah, well, a lot of the time, I think the reason people don't get excited about DLCs anymore is because half the games that put out DLC, it's like one of them will be like good. This is the same with like Assassin's Creed over the years as well. They'll put out like 2-3 story DLCs. 2 of them are utter garbage. 1 of them is actually worth playing.
Yeah, like the Fallout ones and the even the Batman Arkham ones. Yeah, like they're
similar. Yep.
Like, you know, you can take it or leave it. But I think this is one where you actually, if you're a fan of the game, you definitely want to play it. And if you don't play it now, I'm sure you'll get to it when it's on sale in a year or so, or
probably be on sale at Christmas time.
Yeah, it'll be $20.
It's only a month away, but wouldn't surprise me. So, well, they do that 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if one day they're like Horizon on sale, DLC on sale, complete package on sale, or something like that. That would make perfect sense.
That would
to me. All right, I want to talk about one news story that I don't know if anyone cares about, but it's my fucking show, so I can do what I want. Only Kieran can stop me, and he's not here.
Oh man,
crazy.
In exciting news for me this week, Warner Brothers announced that they're opening up a new studio called Portkey Games, who are going to be working on some Harry Potter games.
This is good
and
news.
Oh my gosh.
This is good news for Harry Potter fans. I don't know if anyone knows.
Are the Harry Potter games good?
No.
Objectively, no. They're not.
No, objectively, no.
Okay.
Personally, no. The only good Harry Potter game... All right, so I played 1 or 2 of the... I think I played all the PS3 ones. Well, no, at least 2 or 3 of them.
PS2?
One of them I played for a platinum. PS2, I played Prisoner of Azkaban on PS2. I remember saving up my $80, $5 a week pocket money to get that son of a bitch and be disappointed. Yeah. What a birthday ruined. They got the only good Harry Potter game, as far as I'm concerned, is one. No, I'm joking. Is the Game Boy RPG, which I think I talked about on last week's episode, and it is what I hope I get more of from this studio. Because my dream for many a years, apart from a proper open world Pokemon RPG that's like up in the echelon, and the other thing was like an open, was a proper RPG Harry Potter game. And I think to a lot of people, they're like, why do you want an RPG Harry Potter game? It just seems like a weird, surely like a third person action game makes more sense. You never played the Game Boy Harry Potter RPG. It was so good. It was the best Harry Potter game. It was hard too. And I just want a proper Harry Potter RPG game. And they said this studio will be working on like proper console Harry Potter games. So I can get all my hopes up in the damn world. Yes.
You know what would be better than that?
Yes.
Do you want to finish what you were saying first?
No, I want to hear your crap.
My pitch for a Harry Potter game, as someone that does not like Harry Potter or Harry Potter games, would be basically Bully by Rockstar, but as a Harry Potter world, you know? You're like going to classes, you got some kind of open world elements, you're running around on your broom.
That's what they tried to make.
Running around on your broom.
Running around on your... That's what they basically tried to make all the other ones.
But I'm sure that you could do it right, is what I'm saying.
You could probably do it right, yeah. But all the PS2,
you can make
PS3
out with
ones...
other students, get stuffed into lockers.
I want Persona Harry Potter.
Into a locker, but they were like... You had to go to classes. You had to do like mini games in classes. Draco and Malfoy would come along, pick on you. It was basically what you're saying. It just wasn't very good. And you know why it wasn't very good? It's because they would try and time them in with the movie releases, and they'd have to make these games in like 6 months or something like that. And then you'd get the worst character. It would be like, this game looks okay, and then it would zoom in when they go to a cutscene, and you'd see like the facial animation of Harry and be like, Ron, what's happening? It's an audio podcast, but I'm doing something ridiculous with my mouth.
You can imagine.
Ron, what's happening? It'd be like, fuck God, please help me.
The idea would be to do it in that world, though, not with those specific characters.
No.
There might be one or two of the wizards that the
Yeah.
Dumbledores and those kind of guys, but just in that world, you create your own player, maybe. I don't know.
Well, if I was a betting man, I would be betting that we would be getting a game tied into the Fantastic Beasts universe before anything else. That would make more sense. What you would do in that, I don't know. But that's probably what's going to happen. The only game they've announced, they said they're going to be making games with your favorite Harry Potter characters set off in different parts of the universe and all this sort of stuff, so we'll see. The only game that they've actually announced that's coming out is they're doing Wizards Unite, which is the Pokemon Go Harry Potter clone, whatever that's going to look like, which I will give a go.
Because it'll be free and on your mobile phone.
Because it'll be free, so I will download it and give it a go.
What are you catching?
Know what you... Yeah, snitches, I suppose. And they get stitches.
Flying around
collecting
on your broom.
spells and stuff, apparently.
Yeah, probably collecting spells and stuff. I don't know. It could be fun. Who knows? But, I mean, the problem with this is, like, we're going to start a new studio, and for its first game... We're going to have it tackle one of the biggest fucking free-to-play games ever. Go.
Aren't they working with Niantic, though? I thought that's what I heard.
It still doesn't matter, even if they are. Nintendo's still sitting over there like, ours has 20 more downloads than you. And then you've got the Warner Brother executives who know nothing. Just the people that sit in suits. And by the way, Warner Brothers knows nothing. Just look at what they're doing with the DC universe and stuff like that. Anytime you're like, why is DC stuffing up their movies? Do not blame anyone that works at DC Comics, the DC film side of thing. Don't blame Jeff Johns. Blame the idiots at Warner Brothers. They're hopeless. And they'll probably do the same thing with this and be like, oh, this thing's not selling, so we'll close down the studio we opened a year later. Why didn't it work? And then everyone that's working there will be like, fuck it! And that's what's probably going to happen. That's going to make me really sad. That's the thing that's going to happen.
So you're basically doing a jack with the AFL game on this one.
Yep.
Why? No, I'm open to it being good. I think it could be.
You sound
good.
excited, but you're also saying that it's destined to fail.
You're prepping yourself.
I think it's destined to fail. I do
pain.
think it's destined to fail. But I'll be there. I'll download it day one. I'll run outside. I'll catch some Wingardium Leviosa spells and level up my broom spickles and whatever you want me to do, and my woofle waffles and my bloodstairs. Let me get a fucking $80 add-on I can strap onto my wrist that's a wand.
It's like a selfie
Sell
stick,
that shit to me.
but like wooden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call me a sucker then, everyone.
Oh, we're gonna have people running around saying these stupid spells.
Yep. You'll have to wave it and say Wingardium Leviosa, and then you'll capture stuff.
Yeah, wherever you work, Jono, that's going to be a hot spot where one of the things is.
Yeah, nice. It'll be
Why
like
did someone get hit by a car?
It'll be voice
activated.
activated, so you have to like say the freaking spell.
I have to say the spell.
It sounds so good for a day. Then I'm over it. Okay, talking about companies that don't really know what the fuck they're doing at the moment. The biggest news of the week was EA acquiring Respawn. Controversial all over the internet. Some people being like, I don't really care. Other people basically on Twitter yelling that they're going to burn EA at the stake and whatever else. If you're not up to date, the reason I think most people are spinning it is because a month ago or however long ago it was, EA closed down Visceral and then paid a fuck ton. I've got the stats here.
400
for Respawn, which is most popular for making the Titanfall games. And Respawn, also a studio that basically spawned out another studio after it was closed down, now being from Activision and now being brought by, it's a whole weird thing. So EA paid a butt ton. They paid around $150 million straight out of the pocket, and they're going to be paying 164 in long-term equity for Respawn, and they have just announced that they're going to be working on Titanfall 3 as their first game, and they're still working on their untitled Star Wars game, the only thing of which we ever saw was from E3 2016 last year, I think, or the year before 15, I don't really know. A year or two ago, we saw a tiny little bit of the Star Wars game.
Art?
It was the year of all the concept art. They shot to their game. We saw two people in mocap suits, and like
holding
a short
Jedi.
Animated bit, and it was like presumably a Jedi fighting it was either way. It was two people with lightsabers. So everyone was like, they're working on an Old Republic game. They're still working on that. They're doing Titanfall 3, which will probably now be filled with fucking microtransactions.
Maybe they'll release it a good time this time.
Yeah, well, they can just release it on the same day as Battlefield, but it can be all coming to their pocket at the same the thing now. So what is everyone's reactions to this news and stuff like that? Let's start with you, Jono.
I don't have strong feelings about this. It seems like it's something that just happens all the time. EA's got a reputation for buying studios and shutting them down eventually. So,
isn't it weird though that they did pay? Like, that's a lot of money for a studio.
Yeah, I don't really have a measuring stick to compare it to, but
apparently they outbid the South Korean publisher who does their mobile game. So it feels like they sort of pushed it to that price
for Titanfall, though.
Yeah.
Well, are they known for anything? Yeah. Are they known for anything besides the two Titanfall games?
No,
particularly. Yeah.
Well, it's just the studio that was done by who was it? Vincent Zampella, which was the big name because, the studio's popular because it was the 3 or 4 dudes that made the Modern Warfares, which were the bomb back in the day, of course, and they all left and they made this studio. And the reason that Titanfall was such a big deal when the first one came out was simply because here's the game from the studio who brought you the biggest Call of Duties ever. Go. And then it came out and it was like, I mean, people enjoyed it, sure, but I don't think it did. It did critically okay, sold okay. Second one come down.
It was the only interesting game that came out with the launch lineup, really.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Basically.
For a lot of people, anyway.
And then the second one came out and basically got fucked because they released it in the
between COD and Battlefield.
Yeah.
The weirdest point in time. So
yeah, I mean
I don't know.
The glass half full, Jono would say, well, now they have a whole ton of money to make their games, so maybe we can get something even better than Titanfall. And maybe they'll do a couple games and then EA closes them. But I don't think just because if EA hadn't just closed Visceral, I don't know if this would be such a
It probably
backlash.
wouldn't be, no.
Yeah. So I think it's
think it
probably
would be.
just people maybe jumping the gun and feeling rightfully a bit of venom towards EA. But hey, EA's putting out a Star Wars game this week, so everyone will love them again next week.
Maybe. Depends on how bad those microtransactions are.
Yeah, well, that's the... what do you think about this, Ash? What do you...
Yeah, I guess pretty similar. Not overly... No too stronger feelings. It is pretty interesting that they've announced Titanfall 3 straight out of the gate. That's one of the major reasons they're buying the studio. But yeah, it's hard to look at this and not look at Visceral getting shut down and see parallels, or maybe them being linked. Possibly, maybe they shut down Visceral so they had the capital to buy, make this purchase. I think I heard there was reports that possibly they looked at the footage of the gameplay they'd been working on, and it was like way ahead of what Visceral was doing, and that was like one of the catalysts for shutting them down. So.
Ooh,
60 frames per second,
the rumor
baby.
mill in full effect.
Yeah.
God.
Well,
It is weird. I'm probably the same as both of you. Like I sit in the middle. I'm not like a super angry EA hater. I am. I think it is the people getting angry are just because it's a weirdly timed thing. It's like it's too close to that Visceral shutdown that people are just. That's why people are getting antsy. And I think understandably, like, could you have not announced this or done this after a little bit more breathing room? Because it just seems kind of...
Now they've got money to hire some people.
I know. It's like business is business, but at the same time, like, business hurts sometimes, and it sucks, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those really weird things. Though it's just... Their game, too. Like, everyone keeps looking at the Star Wars game, obviously, because it's like everyone, whenever they talk about this, it's you forget about Titanfall. It's just they shut down one studio that was working on Star Wars and brought another studio that was working on Star Wars. And Visceral's game wasn't a small Star Wars game. Obviously, it was this huge Star Wars game with a lot of money being put into it, and it had like big games talent, of course, Amy Hennig attached to it. So it wasn't no small thing. The Respawn Star Wars game has... As we know nothing really. It didn't have a big name attached to it at all. We know like no big actors. We know no big writers working on it. It's just, But the Star Wars game that everyone was looking forward to the most was the Visceral one, solely because Amy Hennig was attached to it, and that's the reason why everyone was so excited for that. And they've shut that one down to bring in this one that everyone's like might be good, but apparently whatever they've seen made it look a lot better. I don't know.
$7 million.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
With a lot of money
A lot of
better.
money.
I don't know. It's really, really, really interesting. It's a lot of money. Okay. Moving on from that, if you would like to tweet at EA, I'm sure you're already doing it on Twitter. And if you're not, you're probably doing it anytime shortly now, because this episode comes out on Tuesday. And if you're picking up Battlefront early, like I am, with the deluxe, whatever the fuck edition it's called, get ready for all the microtransactions, I guess. I'll talk about that next week, I suppose. That is, of course, going to be interesting. That's the reason everyone's hating on EA at the moment, too, is basically all the news articles coming out about Battlefront, which is the loot crates, the money. You have to spend this long to unlock stuff, or you can just pay money. You got these damn crates coming in left, right, and center. Spend money, $2 a crate, whatever. I don't.
You know, it would be great if the currency was metachlorines, so you had to like
Yes, that would
so
be
you had
awesome.
to like use your real money to buy metachlorines, and then those metachlorines unlock different powers.
I hate everything that you just said. If you like Star Wars, listen to
canon.
Alderaan Explosion. It's 12 p.m. on Fridays.
It's gonna be a good one this week.
plug.
Countdown is on.
All right, moving on to Mail Explosion. That's what I'll call it this week. It's probably going to stick, that one. Yeah, thanks, Ash. Thanks. We've got 2 remaining Michael C. questions.
Only 2.
Yeah.
What happens
So
when
we
we
got
run
this
out?
one, we got one more, and then you better email the fuck back in with another list of like 10 more. Or someone else can. Feel free.
Step up your game,
Platinum
Jaden and
at
Michael.
Explosion Network.
AJ, Number one fan,
okay.
Brendan White.
Yeah.
So, this week's question. Story of you delaying being kicked off the TV due to a game's poor save system. What game was it? And were you successful in saving the game? So, obviously, it's like just kind of as your kid, your mum, dad, whoever, like, come on, we got to go to the shops or you got to go to school. And you're like, no, like, I'm not at the save point yet. And then if it was anything like my childhood, my mum always thought I was fucking with her. But I was being serious constantly. Every time it would be like, no, you don't understand. Like, I can't save the game until I'm out of this battle. Yes, you can. You're just trying to lie. And I'll be like, no. And the weirdest part was, I can't remember what game it was, but when I moved back into the house, I currently, shout out to everyone living at home with their parents, as I am again now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weirdest part
I was way too excited. It should be. Yeah.
When I moved back in here, there was some point my mum like knocked on the door and she was like asking about something. And I literally said, I'll come do it in a minute. She's like, can you come help me with it now? I can't remember what it was. And I'm like, no, I can't save the game yet. And I just reminded me of being a fucking kid because I was like, no, I can't save the game yet. She's like, okay. And then I had this weird like, oh shit, I just said that at my age.
But we have rest mode. We have rest mode now, so you can just
I don't trust that crap.
What about online
Really?
games? You can't do it on online games.
Yeah. Something
that's
like
true.
Dark Souls is where you're screwed because you can't even pause.
Yeah, you're just done for life.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any particular stories that jump to mind though of arguing with anyone?
Yeah,
where you can't save the game.
I can't think of like specific instances, but I know that definitely a game like Final Fantasy VII, where it could be like an hour in between save situations, where you have that specific area where you can save. So that was always a nightmare. And I'm sure there were times where it was like, you know, leaving the console on overnight or while I was at school because I didn't want to lose it. And I've heard of people like trying to play those kinds of games without memory cards and just like leaving the game on forever.
We
Not
can
a good
afford
idea.
memory cards.
Sorry?
You can't. If you can't afford memory cards, you got to leave your console on.
Yeah, that's right. So
No
you
choice.
better save up for that memory card.
Yeah,
It's
get that
like-
megabyte.
Slightly cheaper than the power bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just.
The 8 megabyte was the PS2. Yeah.
yeah. I had a 16 megabyte third party one.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
big boy stuff there.
Nope, picked that up from a secondhand store. Suckers.
My
Ash.
mum was actually the opposite of yours, where like even today, she'll say when I'm playing a game, she's like, "Now, can you get to a point? Next time you get to a point where you can save it, we'll have dinner or whatever." And I'm like, "Do I tell her that I can just like press the
No, you
PlayStation
just
button and it pauses,
just keep
or
playing
I
until
can
you
get
get to
to
a
rest
point.
mode?" Yeah.
Nah. Do you have any stories, Ash?
No, but
Anything that
the
comes to
game
mind?
that automatically comes to mind is Kingdom Hearts that had massive spots between saves, but nothing
Yep.
that stands out. It's just always, Mum wants to use the TV now, so you better hurry up and finish it. As soon as it hits 5 o'clock, she wants to watch Bold and Beautiful or something. So
Surely not at 5 o'clock.
4:30, sorry, 4:30 back in the day.
Back in the day. The two games that jumped to my head oddly were Final Fantasy 9 and Kingdom Hearts as well, because they were two games that so you had to go to the damn Moogles and like it's just games where there were obviously there was proper save points and you couldn't just save wherever the hell you wanted, and it would be like you're wandering around the town and whatever else, and you're in the middle of a boss battle, so you need to finish the boss battle, and then you'd be like, fuck, I gotta get off trying to go to school, it's like 8:20, we gotta leave at 8:30, and then it'll be like, finish the boss battle, cutscene. Fuck, cutscene! Like, I can't skip it because I need to know the story, but I want to skip it because I need to get to the. God damn it! It's the pressure. Pressure.
The struggle. And now you got
I
that
remember
situation where like you don't even know if the game's saved. You're like,
Yeah,
is it
well.
saved? I'll save it anyway.
I've got like such the habit from being a kid. It's like even today, anything where you manually save it, save, just over the same slot like 3 times, and then be like, I'll create an extra slot just in case. I did pause. I remember Final Fantasy 9. There was a clip talking about the pause, leaving it on thing. I did that once from memory at least. With it was I can't remember the name. The big queen bad guy from Final Fantasy 9. There's a point towards the end of the second disc, I think, or towards the end of the first disc. This huge battle happens. You defeat a boss, and then this clip started up a FMV, and I paused it on her stupid face, and it's just like stuck in my memory because I was like staring at it, and I had left it on all night, and I got so scared coming back in the morning, and the PlayStation like felt so hot. I was like, oh.
like,
And then
oh boy,
Mum
this-
caught me out, or Dad or someone. I was like, did you leave that on all overnight? I'm like, nah, I just turned it on.
And it's so loud.
Yeah. Like it was like in the spare bedroom or whatever. So yeah, I've got, that's it happened a lot though, the whole like just arguing with someone to be like, I can't save the fucking, jeez, leave me alone. All right,
Good question,
moving on to the
Michael.
last segment of the day, as we do every episode, each and every week. Hashtag every trophy counts.
Yeah.
So I'll say first off, Assassin's Creed trophies, easy, just time consuming, but that game in general is just time consuming. The trophies look easy. How are Wolfenstein and Horizon trophies, do you reckon? Difficulty on Wolfenstein's probably high.
Wolfenstein's very high, particularly because of the one trophy that I don't know how it's even possible to get, which is like finish the game on the hardest difficulty, permadeath, no saves, that kind of thing. It's like, how is that even possible? Can't even play it on like normal without dying.
Yeah.
And there is a trophy that glitched for me. It's get one of every collectible, and it just didn't pop. And I even tried a couple times, still wouldn't work. So that sucks. So Bethesda, get your act together, please.
It's like my worst nightmare for everything is glitching trophies.
Yeah, and it just makes you like not want to
play
get
it
trophies
anymore?
as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I have about 47% of the trophies, and I'm basically done with the game unless I decide to play through it again. But I'm not. There's so many collectibles. I'm not gonna do
Bother.
it. Yeah. I did just platinum Fractured But Whole, South Park. That's a good trophy
Congrats.
list there. Yeah, thank you. And Horizon, since you asked, yeah, there's weirdly there's two separate trophy lists. One is related to the story, and one is related to feats, which is basically
Yeah, that is weird.
it's related to your like, I don't know, it's what it sounds like. It's doing certain things like killing certain creatures a number of times, or upgrading, using your skill, like upgrading the skill tree and using the different things in that skill tree, like the different abilities a certain way. So yeah, it's odd. It's because you know how it's got like
I'm just
the
looking at
deals.
this now. I was like, I thought it was a glitch. Like, I remember looking at it on PSN profiles, seeing it listed twice, and in my mind, I just scrolled on thinking it was like the European list and the Japan list,
No.
or like the whatever, like two separate. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, it actually has feats and quests. That is,
Yeah, it's weird.
weird.
Like it's got like a new game plus list, and then it's got the two different Frozen Wilds ones. So there's like 4 different things, which is really confusing.
the New Game Plus one makes sense because that was released months ago and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that makes sense to have.
But in the
separate.
same way,
Two
it's
Yeah, 2 separate lists for one DLC. That doesn't
Weird.
really make much. That doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't know how I feel about this at all. Fucking Gorilla, what are you doing? All right, there are
plan
a
to
couple
get all of
games
them.
that have popped this week that I will mention. Number one, the Blob trophies popped, which I was like, what the fuck? The Blob's coming to PlayStation? That's cool. A game I never played, however, always wanted to play because I remember back in the day, I used to watch video clips of it a lot on GameTrailers.com. They used to talk about this game quite a lot when the Wii was a big thing, and it always looked really cool to me. Just like a little blob, you go around, you got to paint the town different colors and stuff like that. Don't know. I'm sure it looks really pretty if they've got like a 4K Pro patch and whatever they've up-resed it and stuff like that. The trophy list looks pretty easy as well. It's like 9 gold, 3 silver, 10 bronze, platinum. It just says like most of them just say save cities, earn gold trophies, defeat it. It looks pretty easy. Go around, paint a bunch of stuff. But I saw that and I was like, that's exciting. I always wanted to play that, and now I can if I want to. To be fair, I could have always played it if I wanted to. I just would have had to buy it and get a Wii. But no one wants to play a fucking Wii, so it's fine. We've got this now. The other game that's popped that has me really excited is A Hat in Time's trophies have popped, which is, I don't really care about the trophy list in general, but it's worth mentioning because apart from Battlefront, A Hat in Time is the other game that I'm most excited about this year. I could be playing it right now. It's out on Steam, but I was waiting for the PS4 release because they kept being like, it will be coming out soon after the PC release, and they never gave a date. But the trophies are now popped, so that's like usually a a sign that it's
So have you got a date?
it's on its way. No, I don't have a date yet, but I hope it's coming out soon. If people don't know what Hat in Time is, it was a Kickstarted game, and it's basically like old school third person platforming adventure, cool game. You play as this girl. She's got a hat. You go through time. There's different worlds.
Whoa.
It's basically everything I want from life. It looks really cute, and I just want to play it so much. It's got 6 gold, 10 silver, 11 bronze. That's also a good trophy list, and most of them just look. Trophy list looks pretty easy for this type of game. It's basically just find all the collectibles in each world and stuff like that. So that's good for me. Battlefront 2's trophies have popped. The way easier than the first Battlefront. Way easier. The first Battlefront trophies were quite ridiculous. A lot of the multiplayer ones in the first game were... It got to a point where I was like, I'm never going to do that at all. Like, I probably couldn't do that even if I wanted to try. So I just gave up. And I really wanted the Platinum game. A Star Wars game, obviously. This one looks a lot easier. Interestingly, the story mission trophies are simply complete the missions, and there is no trophy for like completing the campaign on hard or finding collectibles in hard or like in mission X, kill X enemies with grenade in like the usual campaign crap. The only campaign trophies are just one for each mission. I would say also the names of the missions could be spoilers depending on how anti you are about spoilers. So maybe don't look at the list if you are Jack. And also there is the multiplayer trophies look a lot easier than the first game. It's basically like win this match X amount of times, kill X amount of enemies as this hero, get X kill streak, blah blah blah, defeat 150 enemies with the heavy sentry gun. Just time consuming stuff, but none of it seems too hard. Whereas the first game had ridiculous trophies tied into stuff that relied on luck, and then you doing it like 100 times, and it's just like, ugh. What a pain in the ass. And the last game, Cat Quest, which came out early in the year on PC. And I was like, that looks really cool. I would like to play that on my Vita. That sounds like a Vita game. It's a little top-down RPG where you play as a cat, has heaps of really cool puns, looks funny, looks great. I like the art style. Awesome. Saw it on Steam. I'll wait for Vita. That will definitely come to Vita. Trophies have popped. PS4 only. Fuck! You know what?
Does it have a plat?
It does have a plat, and 8 gold and 7 silver, and they basically all just look grindy. Reach level, defeat this dungeon, complete X amount of side quests, obtain this many skills, unlock this many pieces of armor. So they all basically just sound like grindy stuff. However, I don't want to play this on my PS4 because this is the problem. Looks like an easy platinum. I don't want to sit in front of my TV and play it at all, really, because it doesn't look like the type of game I'd want to waste my time. I say waste as in it. I want it on Vita so I can play it on the go while I'm multitasking because it looks like the perfect game for that. The game's out on Switch, so there will be a time in my life very shortly where I will have to pick between an easy platinum and having to play it on my PS4. Remote play can get fucked; it's so laggy and terrible. Or I can buy it on my Switch. And that decision and time will come shortly. And, follow me on Twitter to find out, I guess. Viva la Dil, VIVALADIL. Thank you. That's the Twitter you can follow me at. You can also follow the show at Explosion Pod. And you can go to explosionnetwork.com for all the other great shows and stuff we do and stuff like that. And don't forget the Star Wars one, All Around Explosion, that's happening right now on Fridays. Jono, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Jono himself and also on my podcast, Putting In Work. And Dylan, before we go to Ash, I never got your reaction to me platinuming Game of Thrones.
Did you platinum Game of Thrones?
You didn't listen to the episode you weren't on.
Whoa.
No, I've missed one.
Yeah, I platinum Game of Thrones.
Was this... I think I didn't listen to the one... it was like the week before PAX or whatever. I still haven't listened to that one. Well,
I sure did.
Yeah.
You sure didn't pay attention to anything happening in that game, did you?
Nope.
No, he did not.
I did not. I literally did it while I was editing podcasts and other stuff.
Yep.
So
that's probably, honestly, that's probably what I'm going to do with Guardians.
The last episode of Guardians.
Yeah, I've got 2 episodes left of Guardians to do. And I'm like, well, that's 2 hours of spamming a button, half paying attention if there's a quick time event I actually need to finish and doing something else.
That's it. it occasionally... It's a longer... Like, Game of Thrones was, for some reason, a longer game than Telltale makes now. It was like 6 episodes instead of 5 or something, and they went for like two full hours instead of like 90 minutes. Yeah.
They're not going to fuck that. They're not going to make that decision again, I don't think. Ash, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEY, HOBLEY.
You say it. Say it.
I did.
It's your new catchphrase. Say it.
It's a thing.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Am
for
I going to have to
joining
say
me.
that all the time now?
Yes, you do. It's now your catchphrase.
Oh, great.
Congratulations.
Plat, plat.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy Cruzy Mate here with all you need to know about November here at the Explosion Network. Firstly, we would like to extend a big thank you to everyone who donated to our Extra Life campaign to help the big, beautiful kids. You can check out all our challenge videos going up on YouTube over the month of November. While you're over there, check out all our PAX coverage, the Explosion Network's first convention. We have a bunch of videos going up on all the games we played over at bit.ly/Explosion Network. Also, our Best of 2017 awards start in late November, so get pumped for that with more information to come soon. And don't forget, Older on Explosion continues every Friday at 12 PM if you want your weekly dose of Star Wars hype leading up to The Last Jedi. And you know, all our weekly shows will continue. Pleasure on Mondays, Plat on Tuesdays, and Grandstand Gurus goes live on Thursdays, all at 12 PM. And finally, we will be returning to full form over on twitch.tv/Explosion Network with all our weekly streams. So keep your targets locked on explosionnetwork.com for all of the explosive content. Plat,
We've all
plat.
got one.
What's mine?
Yeah.
Yours is every trophy counts.
That's not really a catchphrase. That's a segment of a show.
Yeah, but it's something that you say.
What about Tom?
What's Tom's? Yeah.
What's
Phrasing,
Tom's?
I guess.
Fuck, 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 fuck. That's my favorite Tom quote.
Or only on not on Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually true. That's probably his thing. Tom DeMore89 everywhere, but on Snapchat.
That's it. Plat, plat. Have we finished recording? Oh. What was the last bit that we said?